Hi everyone, I'm Nigel Saunders. Today I'm going to be working on my favorite tree in the whole world. The tree I'll be working on is known as the Tree of Life to the Mayans. The forest around me was started from seeds less than 2 years ago. Today I'll be pruning the tops of the trees, I'll be root pruning and repotting, and planting some new seeds and cuttings. Today I'll be working on the mighty Kapok trees here in the Bonsai Zone. In a previous video, I showed you some seed pods that I found at a second-hand store. So I didn't get a chance to plant them yet, so I'll be doing that today. I also found this piece in a second-hand store. On the back it says Tree of Life. The ceiba is the sacred tree among the Mayan. The upper and leafiest branches correspond to the 13 celestial spaces under which cool and eternal rest can be enjoyed. The thick and deep roots lead to the 9 underworlds, each one watched by its own guardian. It is also considered as the Tree of Life because it serves as a magic religious function, indicating the right way to ascend to the 13th heaven. For this reason, the tree is planted in the middle of all Mayan towns so that Yum Kaja can protect them. The Kapok tree would never be considered a suitable tree for growing as a bonsai, but it is my favorite tree. One of my favorite characteristics about the Kapok tree is its above-ground root system. You'll see these massive buttress-type roots or ribbon-type roots on some of the older specimens. When the tree's young, the trunk gets covered in these large thorns, and eventually it grows out and becomes smooth once again. The Kapok tree is one of the tallest and most massive trees you'll see in the rainforest. Their giant umbrella-shaped canopy towers above the rest. My Kapok trees have been allowed to grow for the entire winter, so they're getting quite tall, and it's time to cut them back to size. This will be the third time I've pruned these trees. You can see on the tallest one I pruned it here once, and then up here again, and today we'll prune it probably somewhere here. I've got my pruners out, so I'm going to do some directional pruning. I see a bud at the back here. There's one leaf coming out the front, one off to the side, and the side again. So I think I'm going to take it off here, keeping that bud at the back and one at the front. So I'll just cut it there. And again, I'll plant all my cuttings. So I'll do the same for the other trees here now. There's the first pruning, the second pruning, and the third pruning. I'm going to go up here, right to there. This tree is only being pruned once. I think it's a cutting. So I'll keep 2 nodes of foliage on it. Prune it there. This one, it has 2 branches. They're both doing quite well, so I'll prune a little higher. I'll just take the tips off them. That one I'll let grow. And this one I'll just prune the tip off also. And that's about it for this pot full of trees. Here's a close-up of some of the trunks. You can see they're just starting to get some bark on them. They kind of got some bumps, and there's patches of them that are turning brown. So I think this year or this summer we'll get some good bark on the trees, and maybe we'll get the start of our thorns growing on them also. I'll prune up the second pot of trees now. So again, here's where it was first pruned, second pruning, and I'll go a little higher and take it off here. These trees have done really well this winter. Last year I got a lot of scale insects on the leaves, but this year it's been doing really well. I haven't had hardly any insects at all. I had a few scales that I picked off, but very few. So this tree was a very thick one here, and I cut it off short, so I'm going to take it off here. We'll keep it nice and short and squat. This one was pruned here once, here again, so I'm going to go a little higher and take it off right here. And this one was pruned here, here, and now here. And that takes care of that pot full of trees. I'll follow the same procedure on the third pot. So here I go. I'm going to prune it right here. And here. And here. And right here. And I'll take the tip off this one. That one doesn't need pruning. I'll just take the tip off this one. Like that. And the tip off this one. I think that looks pretty good. My last pot of planted trees haven't grown much. They were kind of near the window where it was kind of cooler. So this one lost its leaves. They go dormant like that. They'll lose their leaves if it's too cool. And the other one has just started to grow again, so they don't need pruning at all. I'll show you what the cuttings look like. They're kind of interesting. If I pull one out here, there's one. You can see it's got all this, I don't know, loose stuff around the trunk. It almost peels off. I don't know what it is. I don't know, it's almost, I think it's the roots starting to grow on the trunk. See the white parts? They're the roots. There's some root hairs coming out the bottom here. I think the brown stuff must be like the bark from the trunk or something. It's interesting though. So you can see these type of trees would grow aerial roots really easy from the trunk. So I'll put that back in water and we'll be planting those today. And I'll replace these cuttings with my new cuttings. You can see that most of my kapok trees don't have any branches. I prune them and a new leader grows up. I prune it again and a new leader grows up. But eventually they do get branches. There's one here. The main leader's here and it's got a branch coming off on the other side. There's one here that has two branches. This one has the main branch here, a main leader here, and there's two side branches forming here. This one has a couple of branches here and the main leader. So eventually, with repeated pruning, you'll slowly develop a branch structure. I'm going to plant my cuttings in this bottle, so I'll fill it up with some rainwater. Like that. To get the cuttings ready for planting, all I do is remove the lower leaves. Like that. And I put them in the water. And I think I've had every one root so far. They root really easily in water. There's two. So even though these cuttings aren't woody, they still seem to root fine. The cuttings are all planted now, ready to grow their roots. I don't really need any more kapok trees, but if they root, I'll plant them and I'll give them out to people in our club. The next part of this project is going to be the fun part for me, and that's the repotting. I have over 20 kapok trees to be planted, and they're all in separate pots, and I was thinking, well, I could put them all together in one pot. This pot was sent to me from Guatemala City in Guatemala, and it was made by Mayan craftsmen, and the national tree of Guatemala is the ceiba, or the kapok tree. So I was thinking it would be very fitting to put the trees in this pot. This pot was a gift to me, and it was packaged very carefully, but it still arrived to me in many pieces. And I thought, rather than throw it all away, I epoxied it all back together, so you can see some of the seams. I fitted all the pieces back together like a jigsaw puzzle, and it's a good pot once again. The sun will be setting soon, so I won't have enough time to repot all these trees tonight. I'm going to bare root them, root prune them, and then repot them. So I'm going to leave it for another day, so we'll come back for day 2. Hi everyone, I'm back. I didn't get a chance to do any work to the trees yesterday. I was at a model show. The model show was at the Warbird Museum in Hamilton, Ontario. The show included a famous modeler, Brett Green, who did some demos, and I'll show you some highlights of the show now.
the armour plate section is black and the seat is green, so we're going to have to sort those into colour batches. We'll pop that seat into the green.
That was a look at Heritagecon in Hamilton, Ontario. You might wonder, why would I include a model show in a bonsai video? Well, the two are related. You're displaying a miniature, and your goal is to take the person to another time or place and just evoke their imagination. Inspiration and ideas for bonsai can come from many places. It can come from nature or something like a model show. Work is going to continue on the Kapok trees now, so I'll take the pot away and we'll start getting the trees out of the pots. I'm going to start by removing the smallest trees first. This soil isn't very old. I may reuse it because that pot is so big. It's going to take a lot of soil up. And this soil is in really good shape, and I haven't had any insect problems or anything, so I think I'll reuse this soil. I normally don't do that, but just that pot's going to take so much soil. So here's the pot. I got some big chunks of gravel on the bottom. It's quite dry. The soil's quite dry. I probably should have been watering this more, but let's see what our root system's looking like. It's actually looking pretty good. I can't complain. Some roots that were growing at the bottom of the pot. And we've got a nice set of fine radial roots up top. There's a few roots that have taken off and gotten really thick. So those will have to be pruned back. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the root system on the tree. The next pot full of trees has a lot of trees in it. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trees. So let's see what their roots look like. And again, I think these ones are mostly cuttings. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of the smaller ones probably are. Okay, I'm going to try loosen it up a bit. They may all pull out as one unit if all the roots are intertwined. There we go. Yeah, it was definitely those rocks stopping it coming out. So there's the roots. Nice fibrous root system. Got all these rocks in the bottom. I'll have to take those out. Okay, I'm going to get the root rake out and we'll try separating all these trees. Trying to get all these roots untangled and sorted out. There we go. The exciting thing for me about these Kapok trees is the root system. Trying to get that nice buttressed radial root system. Hopefully those ribbon roots someday. So there's another one that we can work on, another cutting. So I'm hoping on some of the ones that I started from seed that I get some really nice roots starting on it. Because I want to grow it over a temple, some of them someday. Others I want to plant in pots and show off the roots. So there'll be a lot of different styles to these trees. So there's another root system. Again, a taproot is growing. This one's definitely from a cutting. Now this tree has the biggest roots. It's also the thickest tree. So it's got one big root developed off to the side here. So that is definitely going to have to be corrected. It's got a lot of nice radial roots here too. There's another tree. Our root system's getting a little one-sided, so that'll need some correction. And the final two trees here. Again, there's a few roots here. This one is getting a little thick, so some correction is in order. That one's kind of twisted up and around. Fix all that. While I'm working on the other trees, I'll keep the roots misted. That way they won't dry out. I'm going to get the drainage screens put in the big pot, and then I can start transferring some of the old soil into the bottom of this pot. I'm going to pick out the stones from the soil. The pot is quite heavy enough without all these rocks in it. And then I'll put the soil into the pot. I've been separating the rocks from the soil, and then any good soil I've been filling up the pot here. That's helping. It's getting close to half full, I'd say. So let's go on to the next pot full of trees. Yeah, they're coming out. There we go. A lot of rocks under this one too. I'll start raking out the soil now, and we'll see what the roots are like on these trees. There is the first tree separated. So it's got some pretty good roots happening. Again, there's a root that's thickened up. It's taking over and causing an imbalance in the tree. So that'll just keep getting stronger if we don't do something and kind of take over. So we want to balance the root system. So there's one tree. So you can see the same thing happening on this tree. You can see all these roots are fine, nice radial roots, but there's a couple of roots that are taking off. They're thickening up and getting stronger than the rest. So have to balance those too. And this one's looking pretty good. It's a little more balanced than the others. There's a couple of roots here that are taking off, but most of them are pretty good. Okay, let's look at these roots now. So we've got the same thing happening. We've got a couple of roots that are getting thicker compared to the rest. But not a bad root system to start off with. Quite happy with it. Yeah, just some root work. We'll fix that. I'm down to the last pot of Kapok trees now. So let's get these out of the pot. Pushing on the bottom. That's coming now. And we'll slide it out. There we go. There's the first tree separated. Root system's looking pretty good. Again, it's got a few that are starting to thicken up compared to the others, so I have to correct that. Now here comes one of the bigger ones. Let's see what's happening with it. Oh. So getting some quite thick roots. Again, those will have to be balanced when I repot it. So I'll take that tree away. So this center tree here is the largest tree of all my seedlings. For some reason it's grown twice as fast as any of the others. I guess it's just the genetics of the seed. Some grow fast and some don't. So I'm going to get the surrounding trees out first. There's one. And now to the giant one, the Goliath. You can see most of the roots are quite good. And this one root has really developed strongly. Yeah, and there's another one beside it that's not quite as strong, but it's thicker than all the rest. So yeah, some root pruning coming up with these trees. I've got all 21 trees now bare rooted. Next I'm going to sort them in size from smallest to tallest, and also from the skinniest trunk size to the thickest trunk. I've got the trees arranged now from smallest to tallest and skinniest to thickest. In this forest planting, I want my largest and tallest trees up front And as you go back in the planting, they'll get shorter and skinnier. And this will give a sense of perspective. The soil level in my pot is at a really good height for planting trees. I can place the trees on the surface and then fill the soil in to cover the roots. I'm going to start by root pruning my tallest tree. You can see it's already getting some trunk flare at the base, which is good. So I'm going to remove any roots that are growing straight down, trying to get a nice radial root system. So the thickest one was over here, so I'm just going to remove it entirely. Like that. Hope that got it. I didn't quite get it. There we go. So that's removed entirely. It was growing straight down. There's another one over here that's growing straight down. So I'm going to remove that next. With just a horizontal cut. I'm looking for roots that I can arrange in a radial pattern. There's lots of choices here, so they're all good roots. There's another one growing straight down in the center of the tree here that I can't really arrange. No, it's buried in amongst those other roots, so we'll just cut it straight off again. And that's about it. I can shorten the main roots. So I'm just going to cut off the long roots just to even them out to about there. And that's all the root work I can do on this tree for now. So that's ready for planting. For my next tree, I'm going to do the same procedure. I'll be removing any roots that are growing straight down. So this one, for instance. There's one in here that I've got to remove. Like that. And we'll just see what else we have here. Let's do a little more raking. Get that old soil out. See what's going on here. Okay, so I want to prune some of these ones off a little shorter here. Like that. The rest, I think, this one's a little strong. I'm going to prune it off shorter and give it a general trim. There's a few roots here that are above my root base. They're kind of aerial roots, so I'm going to trim those off. Another one here. That looks pretty good. That one's ready for planting also. I'll continue to prune the roots one tree at a time and getting them all ready for planting as a forest. Here's a shot of all the root systems pruned up. Some of them are getting quite a nice root system on them, so I'm quite excited to see what these trees will look like in the future. It's time now to start planting the trees. I'm going to start with my thickest and tallest trees, maybe 3 at a time, and plant them, and then pick some more trees and plant those around until I get an arrangement that looks good. I'm going to add some rainwater to this bucket, and I'll put the trees in while they're waiting to be planted to keep the roots nice and moist. So here I go. That should be enough. Once again, it's coming to the end of the day, so I'm going to leave the planting of the forest until tomorrow. So I'm Nigel Saunders, Thanks for watching and joining me here in the Bonsai Zone.